Hi, I'm here to bring you part two of my Glastonbury adventure through Avebury as well as Stonehenge to talk about Merlin and dragons and what it all means. I'm Mark Jacobs. Thank you for joining me. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel below. It's just below. It really helps me continue to grow, and I really appreciate all the love that came from my Merlin videos over the last couple of weeks or so. So much fun making those, and a direct result of my travels and trip to Avebury, Glastonbury. All right, let's dive in. So, the first video, part one, was my arrival in Glastonbury, what I experienced there, being on top of the Tor, my druid lineage. What was I doing in the first century? The the call to go to Glastonbury that began back in November of last year, 2025. All that transpired, all the coalescing of energy that was moved through me and moved me to the spot of at the top of the Tor where I'm facing Avebury and doing some energy work that I have no idea what it was about, other than I was being asked to bring my presence, and it was enough. That was really important to me. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do energy work at the time. I just surrendered and allowed myself to work the energy line, the ley line, the sacred dragon line that runs through the Tor to Avebury. The Avebury has the largest stone circle in the world. And then we moved into the sacred waters that run through the Tor, the White Spring and Chalice Well, the Red Spring, and all the water that used to surround the Tor in Avalon and all the mists that come up. Very misty experience that day that we went atop the Tor. And that was about the element of water, the call to Glastonbury, and the initiation leading up to departing for Glastonbury was about air and ether. So now we move down from the Tor, honoring the sacred waters that run through and around the Tor. And now we move into earth because we're off to Stonehenge, where there are 40 to 100 ton stones brought in from further western England many centuries ago, many thousands of years ago, brought to this spot. Now, Stonehenge, I won't spend a lot of time on because Stonehenge struck me as it was thrilling to see for sure. But what struck me more about Stonehenge were the mounds, the burial mounds that surrounded it. They're still present. And the people buried in those mounds apparently insisted that they be within sight of Stonehenge, their circle where they had rituals, solstice and equinox rituals, perfectly aligned, where they had all kinds of other ceremonies, I'm certain. I'm not entirely certain of the story that we're told about Stonehenge, and in fact, they don't really know much about it. Stonehenge was something to get my feet wet with before we went to Avebury. The stones are more manicured. They do have hinges, so they are like little Legos. They lock in. Those hinges lock in. You can see them where the hinges are missing or are still on the ground. Very interesting to see. Those mounds, I think there's more to those mounds than what we're told. I think there were galactic races involved at Stonehenge, and I think it was also my feeling. My feeling is that it was not built by human hands, or at least human hands alone. Enough of that. Leaving there, where it was bitter cold with the wind. Bitter cold. That's the thing I'll remember the most. Avebury, we arrived in Avebury. The sun had come out. It was much warmer. It was calmer. No wind. And Avebury Stone Circle is cut up into, uh, I guess it's just sort of cut up into several pieces. You have to cross roads or go through fences or cross barriers to kind of see all of it or walk all of it. I was immediately drawn into the circle, and I went from stone to stone. Here, I could touch the stones. I could feel the energy in land. I could feel that this was much bigger for some reason other than Stonehenge was built for. Much smaller, much smaller. Stonehenge was for a very localized experience. Avebury seemed to be a much grander experience, like inviting many, many tribes, many galactic tribes, inviting a congress of races to come together and walking this land where the faces, perhaps, of those other races were etched into the stones. Each stone had a different face carved in it. You could see it, an imprint left behind. And you could feel the energy in the stone. You could talk with the stone. You could listen with the stone. Their enormity. You could stand next to it and just be in awe of its size, of its history, of all that it has experienced and absorbed. And at some point, I was called to work with this end of the Michael Line. It still continues beyond Avebury, but the Michael Line directly with the Tor. And so I did some energy work similar to what I had done at the Tor facing Avebury. And I was immediately called into another section of the circle. And I had to cross the road and get on top of a ridge to sort of walk around. And I was moving, focused, guided. My wand was activated. I was moving along the ridge. And I caught a flat stone at the bottom of the ridge, all by herself. I wasn't sure if it was part of the stone circle or not, but it was there, but it captured my attention for a long time. Like I couldn't move. What was this? What was this? And so I finally felt released, and so I continued into the next section of the stone circle. And I began the first stone I touched, a sadness washed over me. What is this section about? Why is this sadness here? So much has happened on this land. The town itself has dissected the stone circle for whatever reason they thought was relevant at the time, or not relevant, disregarding the nature of the stone circle, the sacred site. But at any rate, I continued to walk, and the sadness lifted the more I walked through this stone circle. I felt the stones, I spent time with them, but I was guided. The land, the energy current was guiding me. Now on the plane, I'll just back up a couple of days. On the plane, we had created together, but Amber had started a crystal grid on the plane. And it developed into a dragon head, its body, a rider at times, wings. Her tail would curve, and then it would be straight, and then it would curve in the other direction, it would be straight. And the stone circle, I knew it was Avebury, and I knew that this dragon was in Avebury that had been created, and I knew that it was much larger than the stone circle had been, that the stone circle was. And so the dragon energy, that I'm even talking about dragons in this way, then, even 2 days before, was new for me. But it was becoming very personal to me. It was feeling like I was embodying some sort of energy of a dragon, of dragons, of whatever this was, but it felt very powerful and personal. So I'm in the stone circle, and I arrive, and I know that this is a dragon. I could see its scales. I can see its face come down and slope down. I could see its eye. I could see its gills, its ear. I could see its mouth. Buried the rest of her in the ground. Now, off to the side was another monumental stone. It was her wing. And I realized that flat stone that I had seen at the top of the ridge down below, that was part of her tail. Now, this configuration turned out to be similar to the configuration of the grid on the plane. Now, at first, I asked myself the same question that you're probably asking yourself right now as you listen to this. Has he gone off his rocker? How real is this? Well, let's just say that I was immediately drawn back to her face. I threw myself over her to hug her, to love her, to ask her to come back to life. And I felt a stirring. Felt a stirring. I asked her name, and I received the word Zephyratat. 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 There was a connection that I couldn't explain. It was otherworldly. It was energetic. It was powerful. But I held her. I was like, Mark, what are you doing? What are you doing? But the wand was very present. My Merlin energy was very present. I had found my dragon. I had found my dragon. Now, what this really means for me, I cannot say fully yet. I'm still integrating the experience. But we move from earth, the stones, the land, the energy lines. We move to fire, the dragon, the power of the dragon. The solar plexus, in the heart space, all of who we are, the power of all of who we are. Now, these dragon stones called me to do more energy work, and as it turns out, they, along with a small chapel, which is not unexpected, were also on the Michael Line. So my dragon was on the Michael Line, or is on the Michael Line. These stones had already had roses around them. These were special stones, and I knew it. And this was my dragon. Now, how I interpret that right now is that the fire I feel for the work that I'm doing as a channeler for the collective, my soul group, as a mentor, as a coach, working with others to discover their power, working with others to guiding others to find their own innate powers through a healing field of wisdom, of peace, of light. Doing my writing on Substack, meeting with all kinds of other people and groups, producing these videos. It's all about allowing that power of who I am, my lineage as Merlin, my lineage as the Druid, my lineage as a bridge walker, my lineage as a mystic, my lineage as an oracle, my lineage as a way shower. Did I say bridge walker? Allowing all of this to come out, to be put forward. I offer myself to you or to anyone who wants to learn more about who they are. This is my blueprint. This is the energy that I follow. Follow the energy. Your presence is enough. Trust yourself. Trust the process. And that's a fire that's being unleashed in me. That's the fire. Now, I talked a lot about the fire horse, and the collective channeled in their last transmission for March about the fire horse. That is powerful too. But the dragon, let me tell you, is about wholeness. Acknowledging the reunion of yourself within yourself, the whole of you as it wants to come through you to be the power that you are, latching on to the power that you are, allowing the dragon in you to come forward is unstoppable. Undeterred, clear, focused, intentional. This is what the dragon, Zephyratat, unleashed for me, or really, unleashed is accurate, but really it coalesced everything. It said to me, you are the power. I already knew this, and I already felt this, and it was already present and coming through. But this was a reunion, a reconnection of a piece of the puzzle that is my being, that is my purpose. And so we went from air and ether to water to earth, now to fire. And after leaving Avebury, and after leaving, I suppose, Glastonbury and arriving in Paris, where I spent another couple of weeks, that's when Merlin was unleashed in videos. I didn't know how to make those videos. I didn't know what I was going to do with my wand. It was perfectly natural. And the information came to me. I didn't have to look anything up. It was all in fun, playfulness, joy, powerful. Just being who I am, which is also the message. Be who you are. Embrace your lineage. Attune to the harmony in all of it. And it left me feeling like I was at one with myself, one with all of it, with all that is, which I believe is where we're all headed. That experience of oneness. Oneness with each other as humans, oneness with the creatures around us, oneness with the natural world, with the earth herself, with all that is within the earth, with our guides, the cosmos, with Source itself, the beloved one, infinite being. We are turning to a consciousness of oneness. And it is how we are evolving as a race, the human race. Thank you for taking this journey with me through Glastonbury, Avebury, Stonehenge, into the world of Merlin and dragons, and understanding that this is really about following the energy, following your true self, your most authentic self, and remembering that there's magic in that. There is magic to be experienced in your power, the power of your dragon. Bye for now.